and that just basically uh flooded the entire internet, man. Like I've seen pages like Lad Bible, something like that, Lad Bible, LAD Bible, I don't know. Like all these like different types of social media pages and newscasters like reporting on this. And basically it's been taking over the headlines. And what happens to be fight week for Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk, or Alexander Usyk, because I think the A is like the proper pronunciation of his name. But first, let's just talk about the Joshua versus Usyk fight. My prediction on it, my breakdown of it. I'm pretty sure that y'all have been thinking, man, why hasn't this guy made a brief outline yet, or like some type of like acknowledgement of the fight? Well, I have made some acknowledgments of the fight, like on certain occasions, not as much as I wanted to, but I think people are overanalyzing this fight a lot, and I get it. I get it. Usyk is former cruiserweight champion. He's undefeated. Former undisputed cruiserweight champion, I should say. But I've always had an issue with this fight because I feel like everybody kind of overrates Usyk. It's not that Usyk is not a skilled fighter at all, but I'm talking about his heavyweight uh debut. Like ever since that he started at heavyweight, and every time that I hear an argument for Usyk, it always goes back to like what happened with, or like what he did in the amateurs with Joe Joyce. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what does that have to do with the present, like 10 or 20 years later? Because I'm pretty sure that that fight took place like in the 2010s, and look where we're at right now. Like Usyk had some uh tough things that he had to deal with at heavyweight. Like he had a bit of a tough fight with Chisora. He looked like he was having a little bit of trouble taking some shots, man, from John Wither. Uh, I mean Tim Witherspoon, not John Witherspoon, but and he's been dealing with like a lot of injuries. Like I'm thinking to myself, what is this guy doing up here, man? Like I get it. I get it. Everyone wants to deflect to that whole cruiserweight thing, where I mean the WBS thing that he partaked in, WSB, World Series of Boxing, back in the amateurs, but it's a lot more different in the pros, man. I get it. It's like a semi-pro type of deal, but the professionals are completely different. I mean, like if you're going back and forth, then between like putting on headgear and then going into the Olympics and stuff like that, that's gonna throw off all that type of experience that you picked up from being like in a semi-pro tournament like almost a decade ago. And you can't really carry that as something that you got to deal with at heavyweight. And he has a big task coming up at hand, like on Saturday with Anthony Joshua. And Anthony Joshua still has his demons, like that are present from the Andy Ruiz fights. And the reason I say fights with an S at the end is because he's still dealing with some like mental damages, you know what I mean, from the first fight that I saw a little bit in the second fight. Excuse me, y'all. I had to drink some Gatorade. I haven't drank that much water today, but what was I saying? Anthony Joshua, man, Anthony Joshua. He's still that fighter that we all know, like offensively, and he could still channel into that style. But the thing is, I think he's going to be completely different in this fight. We're going to see some stuff that he did in the second Andy Ruiz fight, but it's going to be a lot less movement, like compared to the second Ruiz fight where he's just like moving all 12 rounds of the fight. And he's going to be a lot more physical, man. Like don't be surprised if it's gonna be a Klitschko type of uh type of aesthetic. You know what I mean? Like in terms of the style that he's gonna impose on Usyk, man. It's gonna be that type of fight. I think everybody's getting their hopes up too much for this being some type of like fight of the year or like that Usyk is just gonna be moving all over the place and stuff like that. I think people are getting their hopes up way too much. I think this is gonna look like Klitschko versus Povetkin. And for those of you who don't remember that fight, man, like it was pretty terrible, man. I'm not gonna lie, pretty fucking terrible. Cause like Vladimir was holding the whole time, but he was actually clinching and putting his weight on Povetkin a lot. And Povetkin was just like sapped at the very end of the fight, and he kept getting knocked down enough by the big right hand from Klitschko, you know? And that's how I see this fight becoming, you know, or turning into. Because AJ, he's pretty still very powerful, man. Like he has a pretty big right hand himself, obviously his uppercut, and he has a pretty good left hook, you know, pretty good hooks in general. But to make it short, man, like cause there's not really that much to break down for me in terms of this fight. Like Usyk could try to pivot, like to get out of the way from Joshua just like holding on to him or leaning on him. But strength wise, man, like Usyk is built pretty weird to me. Like he's not like too strong like that, you know, like he looks big, but I've never seen him like use his physical prowess like that, you know what I mean? Like how he's just gonna bob and weave or something like that. Cause he's not um like a head movement first type of fighter. Like he slips a lot of shots, but he's not like bobbing and weaving, you know, like a Mike Tyson going inside and stuff. Cause Usyk employs a lot of pivots in his style. It's that Ukrainian style, man, that uses a lot of pivots, you know, and when you're talking about Joshua and stuff, like Joshua's that's gonna be a little bit too complex for him. I'm gonna admit that, but um, I don't think Usyk is that small enough of a target for Joshua to navigate the ring around. You know what I mean? Like in terms of like trying to catch him on a clinch or lean on him or anything like that. Because I think Usyk is way too big, man. You know, compared to like a 6'1" Povetkin or even a Mike Tyson, you know, who's like 5'10", 5'11" ish. But like I said before, man, like I said before, I think everybody's overanalyzing this fight, and I think it's gonna turn into uh like a Klitschko style type of fight where everybody's gonna be going for Usyk. They're gonna be like, oh wow, yeah, I'm gonna see like how many punches he's gonna be throwing. Watch, he's not. I think he's gonna have low volume in this fight. Like at first, the first 2 or 3 rounds, you might start seeing like a little bit of spurts coming from Usyk, but Usyk is gonna be very cautious, man, like not to give away too much, man, because if he were just to like, you know, fight off the back foot or anything like that, he would just make himself even a worse target for Joshua's jab because Joshua has a pretty good jab, man. Because remember what he was doing in the Andy Ruiz fight. You know, like it's all about the range. I know it's a lot more different if Joshua was on the back foot or if Usyk was on the back foot. But you got to keep in mind of Joshua's jab, man. You know, like because the guy is 6'6". He has like an 80 something arm reach compared to a guy like Usyk who's like a 78 arm reach. So you're gonna see a major size disparity. You're gonna see a length disparity, which I think is gonna be more present and prevalent because I think Joshua is gonna be a lot more lighter coming into this fight. But we're gonna find out, you know, because I haven't seen him on the scale and stuff. But if he were smart enough, then he would actually try to be as light as he can. Everybody's saying that he should be heavy and really try to put that weight on him. I mean, either ways, man, he's still a big guy, you know, like why would he like just put on even more muscle to make himself even more slower to catch Usyk on the inside, you know, it'll maybe land an uppercut or something, you know. But I got Joshua by hmm You know what? I actually got Joshua by a comfortable decision. Everybody's saying, you know what? I think Joshua's gonna win a controversial decision or a split decision because Usyk is gonna be throwing so many punches and uh yeah, Joshua's gonna be low volume. Nah, man, I don't see that happening. I think it's Usyk that's gonna have his volume sapped by the time it's in the later rounds and stuff. So I got Joshua, unanimous decision, pretty comfortably and pretty boring and uneventful type of a matchup. But that's not it's not because Joshua wants it to be that way, but it's just a style, man. You know, styles make fights. And I think Usyk is gonna run into the wrong guy, you know what I mean, with Joshua. He's not fighting Joe Joyce because Joe Joyce isn't really as technical as like Joshua like that. You know what I mean? I understand the Daniel Dubois performance, which I picked him to beat Daniel Dubois, but I don't think he's as diverse, if you get what I mean, than somebody like Joshua at this point of his career. Because Joshua has a lot more experience now, like in these big fights in the pros and stuff. I'm pretty sure Joe Joyce does from the WSB, but it's a completely different style compared to those two like 6'6" guys. You know what I mean? So Joshua by decision, pretty comfortably, probably like around 9-3, 8-4 type of fight. But it is what it is. Maybe he might be able to sneak in a knockdown. Maybe not. I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised because I think Usyk could be hurt at certain points because I've seen him take some punches at cruiserweight, you know, like from Gassiev. And he didn't get knocked down, but those punches look like it hurt him, man. Like in the Gassiev fight in the finals of the WBSS, and some punches from the Chad Withers. I mean, yeah, Tim Witherspoon, oh my God, I forgot his name, man. I know his last name is Witherspoon, but um, I saw him shaking up Usyk a little bit, man. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm picking Joshua, man. I'm picking Joshua, and we're gonna find out later on, like if he's gonna be able to be undisputed or he's gonna go into an undisputed fight with the winner of Fury versus Wilder. So we're gonna find out, man. We're gonna find out. We need some closure already, but 1 second, y'all. Give me 1 second. All right, y'all. I'm back. Um, let's talk about. I want to go more into depth about this whole like Canelo versus Caleb Plant confrontation because I don't think that I went into depth as much as I wanted to yesterday. So let's talk more about it, man, because I see a lot of different opinions, you know, like who won the confrontation physically and mentally. And everyone's giving the physically to Canelo. I can understand that, but mentally, man, mentally, everyone's gonna have their own illusions. Everyone's gonna pick their own fantasies. Like, well, my guy won. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like how you're trying to back your guys, and you're like, oh man, that's my homie, so I gotta back him up no matter what type of deal. That's just how it's gonna be, you know, for whatever side is gonna be. You know what I mean? Whether it be Canelo, whether it be for Plant. But my honest opinion, and everyone's gonna disagree with it because I've mentioned on this channel a lot of times that I'm picking Caleb Plant. I mean, whatever. I don't give a fuck. I mean, it's just what I see at the end of the day. But I saw Canelo getting out of character a lot. And Caleb Plant, like I said before, he doesn't really show any fear, man. Like, I mean, where is this coming from? About him being afraid of Canelo or like that he got humbled or something like that on some weirdo shit. You know that how people want to say, Oh, he got humbled, man. He got humbled. Yeah. Did you see that? Did you see that shit right there? He got slapped and he started sitting down, and that's when he started talking a lot. But yet, I saw a lot of times like in Canelo's body language where he's like, don't talk about my mother and all this other stuff when he really didn't say anything about his mother, man, because that term motherfucker means doesn't really mean anything literal. It's like certain sayings in Mexico, like good or bad in Mexico that involve the word mother, which means madre. But when you say something like what can I think of? Hmm. Like something is good. Well, in Spanish you would phrase that with something like estaba con madre. You know what I mean? Like for those of you who don't know what that means, it means that shit was badass. Well, man, I mean, we got terms like that. Even motherfucker, the term motherfucker could be a sign of endearment. You know what I mean? Believe it or not. Like could be calling their friend, "Hey, man, that's a badass motherfucker right there." Yeah, man. Did you see him beat on uh all these other fighters and stuff at the same time at the bar and shit? That guy's one bad motherfucker type of deal. Like I'm saying, like I said before, man, like this is a stupid thing to talk about. This is a stupid thing that Canelo brought up, but I get it. I get it. He wants to like deepen the hole, like with Caleb Plant, because Caleb Plant has a mouth on him, man. Because unlike Andre, who was just there being a smooth talker, like he was trying to be a one line. He was trying to do all these like one liners on Canelo, but it just wasn't gonna work, man. Because uh, Andre, man, like he really knew where he was at, where his place was. Like he knew that he had to like go around for Canelo, and that's why Canelo felt like he had enough power and pull, and just everything like pointed towards him, where like he could actually just blow off Andre, like get the fuck out of here, all this type of shit. But yet at the same time, he was using motherfucker on him at that conference, so it doesn't make sense. I really think Canelo's bullshitting on a lot of this stuff, and you can see a lot of contradictions in what he's saying. And he tried to do those like cute little one-liners on Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant wasn't having it, and he was just putting the pressure, like I said yesterday before, on Canelo. Not giving him time to breathe on his points or anything like that. Which you got to do, man. Like if you were already born with a mouthpiece, you might as well just like do that shit. You know what I mean? What's some guy gonna tell you like? Hey, shut the fuck up. All this other bullshit, man. Like trying to be like Conor McGregor and shit, all these like corny ass one liners and shit. But Caleb Plant, man, like he was putting on a lot of pressure, man. Even though like if everybody disagrees with him, agrees with him, he was laying down the facts, laying down the sources and everything like that about what happened to Canelo throughout his entire career. But at the end of the day, there's strenuous testing for this fight. So I think both fighters are gonna come clean, obviously. Fight night. But psychologically, man, I thought Caleb Plant won that part of the thing. But um a lot of fans are still gonna bash Caleb Plant. And I can understand that, And it goes back to the speech which Caleb Plant was talking about, that they want to do believable things. But Caleb Plant has the mentality of wanting to do unbelievable things, man, which is the right mentality to have, in life and stuff. I mean, I'm surprised that nobody agreed with him on that, at least, like you don't have to agree with him on Canelo's, with his comments on like Canelo as a fighter overall and his integrity, but like you gotta understand that that speech that he gave on unbelievable things or believable things was pretty motivating, So let's see what happens, man. Because like I love the press conference, and I'm gonna watch it again. It's like I said before yesterday. It was a classic. Everybody's gonna be watching it. I've already seen like videos that have like millions of views just because of that confrontation and just because of Caleb Plant putting the pressure on, you know. And I started to notice that in the titles of those videos that they're putting out there, they're not mentioning or they're censoring with those asterisks in their titles of Caleb Plant calling out Canelo on his failed drug test. And I find that kind of weird, but I can understand it because it's the medium at the end of the day, the quote unquote boxing media. So you know how they roll. But I'm expecting a good fight. And once again, I'm still standing on my pick with Caleb Plant. But Canelo, Canelo really needs to watch out, man, because he really did give away too much for Caleb Plant just to mentally prepare himself and see the speed of like what he has to deal with, man. Can you imagine that? Like, man, I don't know, man. I don't know. But I don't think Caleb Plant was trying to hurt him either. Because if it were the other way around and Caleb Plant cut Canelo, I don't even know if this fight would be happening on November 6th. It would probably be pushed back to like December or even May, man. Because, you know, it's Canelo. And I've heard some stuff about their contracts that allegedly, um, if something happens to Caleb Plant, he's completely scratched from the fight period. Or if something happens to Canelo, uh, everybody has to wait on him. Everybody has to wait on him. So it's weird, but I just want to get this over with and see how it goes. You know what I mean? I hope that this fight does a lot of pay-per-view, and everybody loves talking about the pay-per-view numbers and stuff like that. But I think this fight is already sold, and we're about to find out. You know what I mean? Like if somebody's gonna I mean, unify all these belts because I hope that it doesn't land in a draw because that thing has been pondering in my mind a lot recently that if Caleb Plant does too well, they're just gonna give him a draw. So I hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, man, this whole Canelo Caleb Plant situation, it's just very entertaining. But everybody always wants to like talk about uh Canelo is unbeatable and stuff like. No fighter's unbeatable, man. I mean, Canelo has had a lot of close fights. I mean, like, if it weren't for him being a superstar, man, some of these fights he probably would have lost, man. I'm not gonna lie. But Canelo has won these fights rightfully. But let's not act like he's this guy that's just like blasting out opponents left and right. Cause he's only had like what, two, three knockouts. One of them was like a legit knockout against Billy Joe Saunders. And I'm not saying that it's not legit, but it was like again, it's a good competition. But with like guys like Abney Yildirim and Callum Smith. Well, not Callum Smith because he went to distance with Callum Smith, or what's his name, Rocky Fielding. That's just not gonna count. Well, to me, it doesn't really count too much or hold that much weight. I should say, for lack of a better term, because those guys really didn't belong in the ring with Canelo. Let's be real, but the Billy Joe Saunders like knockout was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, I really didn't like Saunders at all. I'm glad that Canelo did that to his face, but Canelo has shown some vulnerability, man. Even in that fight, I saw him getting hit a little bit too much than usual against a guy like Billy Joe Saunders. So I'm just saying, I'm just saying that this guy could be hit. This guy could bleed too. And I think everybody forgot about that cut above his eye that he got from the Golovkin 2 fight. I don't think everybody remembers it because they just want to remember like Canelo stepping toward Golovkin, you know, in the second fight. But I'm not gonna ignore the facial damage that he took against Golovkin, even though he did damage his face too. But like I said before, just imagine if that were like a Caleb Plant jab, just going at it. Like, I mean, Caleb Plant could just like cut open Canelo and the fight could get stopped like that. You know what I mean? He doesn't really need to knock out Canelo like that, where he has to put him to sleep or anything. He could just like open his entire face, basically, you know. So we're about to find out either ways. But appreciate y'all stopping by, or that's gonna stop by later. Been on for 25 minutes, like I said before. I love to make everything short and sweet. Gave out my prediction for Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk. Talked a little bit about this Canelo versus Caleb Plant fight. I'm enjoying everything, man, that's going into motion this past 3 months, you know, like for boxing and stuff. Because it's been a horrible year for it. And it's been a horrible 2 or 3 years, man. You know, like we haven't had any uh consecutive good fights since like 2017. Because boxing really wants to like fuck with fans, you know, every single time. Like it just wants to kill the confidence of everybody else. But as long as fans keep applying the pressure, as long as fighters keep applying the pressure on everything and everybody on the sport, you know, whether it be like these aggressive press conferences, that's what brings people to the sport. And calling out everybody else, you know, like bringing excitement, man, bringing entertainment into the sport. That's what it's all about, you know, whether you like it or not, it's going to bring some type of attention, you know. So um at the end of the day, we just got to tune in, man, you know, for this fight that's coming up on Saturday. We're just going to tune in, hopefully, for the Wilder Fury trilogy, you know, get that over with. And this also Canelo versus Caleb Plant, and then obviously Crawford versus Porter, man, you know, because that's another good fight in itself. But anyways, I'm about to go, guys. Catch you on the next one, and take care, especially during these days. Peace.